Hello and welcome. In this unit, we'll cover independent educational evaluations, or as you will likely hear them called, IEEs. Before we begin, let's quickly discuss how evaluations are used in the special education system. As you know, in order to be in special education, a student must be found eligible. Eligibility is typically determined by an IEP team after reviewing evaluations, which show that a child has a disability. These initial evaluations are almost always conducted by the district. Subsequent evaluations for annual or triennial IEPs will also be conducted by the district. So where do IEEs fit? An IEE is an educational evaluation that is conducted independent from the district, but is paid for by the district. Like any other evaluation conducted by the district, an IEE becomes part of the information that an IEP team will use to determine special education eligibility and services. In theory, an IEE should be no different than a district evaluation because all evaluations should meet the same requirements we discussed earlier in this chapter. However, in practice, IEEs may give parents valuable information from a third party that may not be available at the district level due to staffing, resources, or other reasons. One important issue to flag before we go any further is that IEEs must be considered at IEP meetings, but their findings don't have to be followed by the district. IEEs therefore provide evidence parents may use to challenge services, placements, etc., but IEEs will not necessarily result in a district deferring to the IEE's findings. The law on IEEs is pretty clear. Parents have a right to request an IEE at public expense. In order to request an IEE, a parent simply has to disagree with an evaluation that was conducted by the district. A quick practice note. A district may ask a parent for a reason why they disagree with the district's evaluation, but they cannot require a parent to give them a reason. Since it's always a good practice to put any request in writing, attached is a learning rights template you can use to request an IEE. As with any other letter you write to the school or the district, please make sure you keep a copy of the request. So what are the legal mechanics of requesting an IEE? Under the law, once you request an IEE, the district has two choices. They can provide the IEE at public expense, or they can file for a due process hearing to show that their evaluation was appropriate. As I just mentioned, when an IEE is requested, the district can either grant the IEE or will have to file for due process to defend their evaluation. Those are really the only two options the district has. A district simply can't ignore a parent's request. Indeed, the law says there shouldn't be any unreasonable delay in responding to your request for an IEE. If you've been around other parents of children with special needs, I'm sure you've heard of IEEs. In many ways, IEEs are an invaluable tool, but it's also important to realize that requesting an IEE simply for the sake of requesting one won't necessarily help your case, especially if the IEE finds the same results that the district evaluation found. As I just mentioned, a district can file for due process against you if they decide to defend their evaluation. As we'll cover in a later chapter on disputes, due process is a legal proceeding and should not be taken lightly. Finally, an important note. A parent is entitled to only one independent educational evaluation at public expense each time the public agency conducts an evaluation with which the parent disagrees. There are also a few other issues parents should consider when they request IEEs. One is vetting the Iee Assessor. When you are granted an IEE, you'll likely receive a list from the district of possible assessors. The list is not exhaustive. Parents should research all of the assessors on the list and check the background of the person, their reputation in the community, and other factors. Parents should also feel free to research other assessors who are not on the list. It's perfectly acceptable to inform the district that you will be using a different assessor than the ones they provided to you. Just make sure that the assessor you choose is qualified to do the assessment you want, and that they will accept district reimbursement. Either way, whether a parent uses an assessor that's on the district's list or one they find themselves, parents must be careful when choosing an assessor. Why? Well, let's think about how long it will take to do an IEE. IEE assessors are not governed by the same law as schools or districts. There is no law that states when an IEE should be completed. Since an IEE assessor is independent from any school or district, a parent may face unnecessary delay waiting for their completed evaluation. If they don't vet the assessor for something as simple as their turnaround time for conducting evaluations and providing a written report, they may be waiting. On that same note, what if it's the assessor's practice to not present their findings at IEPs? Will a parent be able to present the information found in an IEE at an IEP meeting themselves? It's likely that a parent won't be able to interpret results without an assessor either being present or being called into an IEP. With that, we'll end this module, and we hope that you understand IEEs, including their pluses and minuses, a little bit better. In a later module on disputes, we'll cover due process. In the meantime, here are a few resources for you. You can access our toolkit online and read Chapter 7 on assessments for more information. If you're in the LA area, you can also call us for an intake if you're having trouble requesting or obtaining an IEE. Well, thanks for joining us, and goodbye.